All right, so let's see what old DM's got to say about the truth, the Druid after 100. I ain't got to 100 yet, but I'm not too far off. But all he's been doing is playing Druid, so I'm interested to see what he's got to say. Let's see.
Today is a very big day, both for me personally as well as in Diablo. You see, today is the day I'm going to hit level 100. I'm level 99 currently in the game.
Hell
I
yeah.
thought it would make sense that we save the level 99 for today on live stream, so that way we can kind of enjoy it and hit it together. I think it would be a fun milestone as we wrap up and finish the Druid. But it's also the day that the original YouTube channel has been surpassed here. Check this out by...
You know who he reminds me of? Garth from Wayne's World, but a cooler version of Garth. Not as dweeby. I don't know, I was just thinking about that.
DM Diablo 4.
All right, let's skip forward. We know what he's saying is his channel's been doing good, so, which we all know. Congratulations, brother.
I will address is the common complaint the Druid starts slow. This is 100% accurate.
Oh,
the
you ain't lying.
You start with feel terrible in the beginning.
Oh my God!
People ask me on live stream, and it happens all the time. Hey, I'm playing Druid. When does it start feeling good? When do I start?
Y'all, I almost deleted the game because of what he's saying right here. It is so damn painful. It is unfreaking believable. Now, during the beta, it was fine because they rained all the aspects on us, and you could literally build a shockwave pulverized Druid back then. And that's why I was so excited for Druid, because I was playing it during the beta and was like, oh, this is going to be badass. But you can't find anything. The aspects drops are shit, and playing with just the bare bones skills until the Paragon board unlocks. Oh, my God, it's so painful. Same thing, though. I've had a lot of guys on my channel coming over. Hawg, what are you doing? They also watched me after I got done with the campaign trying to level with a mid-50s Druid, and I was having this is the worst fun I've ever had in a Diablo launch, and I've been through almost all of them, and it sucked, and then it came alive. Once I hit 70, I was like, hell yeah, and that's what I've been telling everybody else, 70.
Start smashing. My answer, you know what my answer is? Level 70, because that's right about every single time I've played the Druid. It takes to about level 70 until the character starts feeling good.
Thousand
That's
percent.
for multiple reasons, but one of them is the fact that it takes a while to be able to get under the Paragon board. You need the damage from the Paragon board, and more importantly, you even need the Spirit Edition from the Paragon board, because most of our Spirit Edition is going to come from Earthen Might. Now, I have been...
Do y'all know how long it took me to figure that out? I wasn't running all that extra Spirit. I didn't see it because I'm using these Mickey Mouse planners when the Paragon board on the game actually tells you what each rare node and everything is. So I just completely overlooked that, and all I did, you can talk to my clan and the community, all I did was bitch about resource, which I do think there should be somewhat of a passive resource on this tune. Like, why can you exit the game and all that? There's nothing you can do to get spirit back except for attack or use one of these passives or cast what is that, a trample with gain 20 spirit, which is a Mickey Mouse amount, or try to find an aspect that's like I found it 2 times in the whole game, and it one time I salvaged it on accident. So the spirit, you have to rely your entire build on lucky hit to refill all your spirit, which is a pain in the ass. So it makes a lot of people delete the character and go with something else that's not as just, oh my God, it's horrible.
Figuring out other ways to do this. I actually don't like Earthen Might as much as I used to, but almost every build is using Earthen Might just to solve the spirit generation issue. So it takes a long time for people to get both the skill tree level to be able to feel like they can actually cast their abilities, which is where the frustration comes from, as well as the stupid mosquito, as well as a long time to be able to get the damage from things like the Paragon board, etc. So you feel like you're hitting like a wet noodle for basically the
entire game.
Yeah,
the entire
game. By the time you get to the point where you can actually start acquiring damage and you're doing something, now you're at the end game where the whole portion of the end game is actually just doing the same dungeon over and over and over again to farm experience. You're going and doing.
Yeah, and they keep nerfing all the dungeons, so now we ain't got nothing to do. There's like now it's like, up, hit the brakes, pop the brakes, boys.
And all the side quests, etc. So the part where you really wanted the enjoyability, the part where you really needed the enjoyability,
is in the middle of the game.
Fun with the actual game,
yeah.
not just the grinding portion of it, is very frustrating as Druid. So if you want,
dude, I had no fun. DM hit it right on the head, man. He felt exactly the same way I did. I can tell. It was horrible. It was absolutely, the only way that I got through the campaign as a Druid is I ran with my group, and we were able to kind of, it wasn't easy. We were able to kind of try to tag team up together, Man, I'm telling y'all, he ain't never been more right about anything in his life right there. If you are playing Druid, you better be prepared to suffer until 70, because it's a straight up suffer. And then if you don't have the aspect, if you ain't been collecting aspects, you're going to suffer till you farm the aspects. And then you got to try to find more aspects, put on ancestral gear and all that as you get up and up and up and up. And that's where I'm at now, level 81, and I'm starting to reach, I'm outgrowing my old clothes and my old gear. And so now I'm trying to, find all these other aspects and keep doing it.
Me to acknowledge right off the bat, is Druid frustrating at the beginning of the game? Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind the Druid is difficult. This stupid mosquito. This Druid is difficult.
We got them too, man. They're bad.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but once I actually got to the late game, the Druids start to feel pretty satisfying. I'm trying to figure out the Storm Wolf type of build, like the one where you throw the tornado around here. And I
can't find the item
version of it, but it's been working all right for me. And what I found out about this is that there is multiple versions of the Druid that seem good. Every time I'm trying one build, someone's like, have you tried this one? But have you tried this one yet? And most of the time it's a build I literally haven't even heard of yet. And for that reason, I actually think the Druid is, at the end game, pretty fun, actually, because there's a lot of different builds, and the playstyles are totally different. Like,
it's a theory crafter's dream. If you like theory crafting, there's so many options on the Paragon board that I don't even think we've scratched the surface of. Like, really, like you're saying, all we're seeing is Storm Wolf and Pulverize. But y'all, I played Pulverize with Vine Creeper, with Poison Paragon boards, and damage to poison. Like, that works with Bear. Like, there's a lot of different things you can do. And the big one that we haven't seen is the Nature's Key passive. And you stack that with a couple of those passives. Haven't learned all the names yet because I'm bad with names. But if you cast a Storm skill, and then cast an Earth skill behind it, that Earth skill is triple damage, or vice versa. We haven't even messed with that yet. So there's going to be a lot that can play into the Druid in the end game. I really believe it. I'm also working on a support Druid. Like, there's a lot of things that can happen with Druid, and there's a lot of the ultimate skills that we hadn't even looked at yet.
Like the Storm Wolf tornado thing, I'm like Palpatine waving my hand around and creating some force magic. And then you have the bear where I'm like smashing the ground, and
bear, hurry, like animal
feedback that comes from that, etc. Especially if you're on controller, it rumbles all the goddamn time.
Oh, so does it?
That part is actually pretty good. Okay, so in terms of variety of builds, I actually like that a lot.
Yeah, it's fun now.
I don't know the other classes in terms of variability. Maybe like the rogue going from the bow to, the daggers feels as varied. But for me, playing the Druid, it feels like the classes feel very different when I start swapping builds. There is a downside to this, which is that most of the builds actually require you to have uniques. And a lot of these uniques are pretty much mandatory. Like if you don't have, I'm going to get him one of these times. If you don't
wait till it lands on you.
You don't have the Storm Wolf build.
That's a question I have. Y'all, sorry to keep pausing. Well, I got to put my feedback because I agree with him 100% so far. But the developer said that, now this was in season, so it's yet to be seen, but developers said that you might find 1 or 2 uniques per season. Well, I know this is in season, so whatever, but we're finding a lot of uniques. Are these same builds going to be viable in season if they actually follow through with you're only going to find 1 or 2 uniques per season? Because that's going to kill a lot of these builds, and it's going to make everybody have to re-theory craft. So it's just something I've been thinking about with the amount of uniques that's dropping.
You cannot create a tornado werewolf build without this helmet foe stop. And so for that reason, there's an additional level of frustration with the Druid, where I'm seeing other classes like, oh, you don't have the unique? Okay, we'll put in this one. And then we find it's like, no, you don't have the unique. You don't have the build. And a lot of the stats don't cross over. Like, overpower damage is
it wasn't cool. One take.
Willpower is pretty
I'm
cool.
shocked.
You skill damage, etc. But, like, the tornado build isn't exactly an overpower build, where the earth skills definitely are more of an overpower build. So, trying to get your items to work, you can see I have 2 sets of complete items. I had to change all my items to get it to work. In terms of Paragon board...
Yeah, so if you're going to play around, if you're going to theory craft, if you're like me and like theory crafting, you better make you some mules. You better buy all them tabs. You better save every damn aspect that you find. You better save every item that you might think might possibly be something that could synergize with something along down the line. Even though we've only got a month or less whenever the season's coming out. I guess we do have a month till season now, right? So someone will tell me in the comments. But yeah, you better start stockpiling. You better be hoarding. And the other problem is, you're so dependent on gold. It costs so much money to respec everything that I've already messed up a bunch of times. I've probably blew through 20, 30, 40 million. I mean, oh my God, I don't even want to talk about it.
I feel like there's a pretty decent amount of options, but in reality, there's like 3 or 4 for most builds. You're going to have your spirit. The crowd control basically affects almost everything. So most of the time you're going to take the crowd control one, and then you have kind of a varied slot in there. And as far as the glyphs go, these are varied enough that I don't have any complaints about these. I actually think the fact that our exploit glyph guarantees...
Yes, yes! Oh, I need to take him fishing. We'd get along. Look here. I've been telling everybody about this exploit glyph. This better be the first one you got in there, because every time you damage an enemy, he's vulnerable. So, like, when you're pulverized, you come in, you hit him with that first wave of pulverized, the whole damn pack is vulnerable. And then you can come right behind them again and just wipe them. So, yeah, you better be running exploit as the very first one.
Somebody is actually completely nutty. Also think spirit boons are a really cool addition. I found myself min-maxing these a little bit more in the beginning, where what I was doing is doing like, oh, the overpower one, and then swapping to the heal when I needed the heal, etc. Because you can actually change these during combat. And I do find myself messing with these a little bit, but once you get past kind of level 70-ish region, where you're like, okay, I've got the class figured out, I know what I want to do, you just kind of set and forget about.
The only thing I'll add there is if you're messing with a companion, like I've been playing around with Vine a lot. I've since taken it. I did like a poison pulverize with Vine and whatever, but that green one on the third line down, the wolf one, that goes on lucky hit, and it's got a 20% chance to reset the cooldown of companion. So if you're reliant on your Vine a lot to do stuff and apply that poison and damage and the slow or whatever, you want to select that. But otherwise, you can kind of just pick and choose. It is kind of a pain if you're by yourself and you're trying to unlock these spirit boons. It's a long type deal. I was trying to level a damn 0 damage character for my PvP stuff, which, by the way, we're starting a PvP league over in my Discord if you want to get information and stuff on that. But I couldn't deal any damage because I was like a Z Druid, set up just to tank, just to spectate. So I had to have everybody help me unlock the spirit boons for that tune. But yeah, anyway.
So this feels fine until you no longer even care about it. I also believe the class is a little bit pigeonholed to one ability, which is Grizzly Rage. It does seem like for most of the builds, not all of them from what I've heard, but most of the builds are based around Grizzly Rage and this one actual item. The duration of Grizzly Rage is increased. The reason is every time you get a crit strike, you get ramping critical strike damage. And if you have Earthen Might, which guarantees that you will be able to get 100% crit strike for like 5 seconds straight, basically, you can ramp the damage.
If the lucky hit procs, giant lucky.
Like 1,000% or something. I know there's a cap. I don't know exactly what it is off the top of my head, but basically this critical strike damage ramps like almost infinitely, because by the time you're into the ability, a lot of times you're not actually at the cap, etc.
Yeah, you can pull up pull up your inventory while you're in Grizzly Rage, and you can watch your attack power go from like, mine will start at like 7,000, then it'll go to 10, then it'll go to 12, then it'll go to 13, 15, 17. Like, it just keeps going over and over and over. It's pretty badass.
But you'll do a lot of damage basically when this ability
is millions
up,
of crits.
When the ability is not up, you'll feel quite bad, especially when you have like an aspect like mine, which I have 100% spirit cost reduction, meaning my moves are spammable and completely free, as the either werewolf, or when you have Earthen Might with the Werebear, for instance. You can basically spam this stuff going into Grizzly Rage, etc., which just brings more power into Grizzly Rage. So I feel like the Druid, at least the shape-shifting forms, I'm always playing around this ultimate ability for burst potential, which might be the other classes too. I don't know. I really only know my class in detail at the moment. We'll play the other ones afterwards here as soon as I hit 100. But for the moment,
no, we don't need to play no other. Hey, kitty!
Playing around Grizzly Rage.
Hell
yeah! That seems to have been the majority of my gameplay on Druid. I also find myself not.
We got another cat man. So mine ain't in the shed. Hell yeah! I love that.
Not wanting to run companions at all, and I've seen 0 other people in the wild running companions. I feel I
run Vine.
Companions are extremely clunky. The only good one is the AoE Poison Creeper, because it's basically not a companion. It's just a castable.
So just real quick, what's cool about Vine Creeper? There's active and passive with it. And so if you need to apply poison damage, so let's say you're trying to focus on single target or something, you can actually take that, gain an additional companion aspect, and it will give you an additional vine. So you have 2 vines running around just constantly applying poison damage. It's nothing in-game or nothing crazy, but I have ran it while I was not 70, so that can help you out. If you're struggling, run Vine and just spec for poison, because it actually can, if you build, I got a video on it, but if you build on it and put 5 and sink 3 into the passive that does 30% damage, like, they can deal some heavy poisoning damage. But anyway, That's the only one to run. What I hate about the wolves, personally, is they stay way behind you. They should at least stay, like, side by side, and they don't. They're, like, always behind you, and then you got to cast, and then they got to jump, and they look like... I just don't like it. And ravens, the only reason you'd ever run ravens is to apply vulnerability, but you don't need that because you've got the glyph that applies vulnerability all the time. So that's useless as tits on a boar hog.
But the Raven has a small little circle that does, like, you know, dog shit damage anyway. And then the wolves are the most clunky animation I've ever seen. They jump, and it looks like someone just dragged an image in Photoshop and moved it on, like, a curve. It's terrible, and half the time it misses anyway. So the companions, maybe this is a giant L take, and maybe I'm wrong. I haven't tried the full companion build, but for me, they look like garbage. And I actually thought the companions were going to be a lot of fun to build around, but I don't even want to bother. Some of the more positive stuff I've noticed is that I do believe that the stash, for instance, or not the stash, but the legendaries that you can get for this character, most of them are usable. There are some unusable ones, and there's some ones that are like Jimro that are across for everybody, etc. But a lot of these skills are actually quite usable in one build or another, which is a little bit encouraging because it very often means that when you get a drop, you can use the aspect or extract the aspect if it's a perfect row. So I did find myself enjoying, I mean, I have a pretty good variety of one. I have core skills for Fortify. I've also got barrier increased damage because I'm using Temerity. I feel like there's enough variability between builds that you do find yourself not being 100% the same as other people. You know, you have your own kind of like...
Yeah, so the perfect example is that is go to max roll and look at the aspects they're using, and then go watch DM stuff and look at what he's doing. He's running something totally different. He's running, I don't know what he's running now for the wolf, but he was running an axe, and that's what I prefer. I like his strategy, which was I want to deal as much damage to healthy enemies as possible. I want to one-shot these things, whereas over on Max Roll's guide, it says to take a staff with crowd control and stack crowd control, stack this and that. So a lot of this is, I've seen it too with the aspects. You can change out that core skills for Fortify, for damage, the crowd control. Like, there's different, just for an example, but there's different things you can plug in that you still get really good damage output, and you're not, like, tied into one thing. Like, for example, I'm using that unique mother's, that mama's ring, whatever the hell, mother's embrace, is that what it is? But it dropped for me again farming one of these badass, the Ruins dungeon that they just nerfed, and it's giving me, that's the only thing I'm getting resource back from right now. So there's just different ways that you can play but still do really insane amounts of damage.
Flavor text on it. I still very much believe that cosmetically the Druid looks fantastic. I know there are some debates about, you know, being a big beefy boy. I will leave that
you're
to
a
other
man.
people,
That's why.
it doesn't bother me, but I understand.
No, so dude, why can't we have armor? Like, he looks like he went to the Carpets of Dalton and got to Carpet Factory and got outfitted. Like, to me, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to be cloth man. I want to have some cool stuff. At least give me something shiny. But the man's way better than the woman. The woman looks like babushka, like she's, you know, like an old Southern saying we have is, you know, she's real pretty in the face. Like, that's all. It's about a nice thing you got to say. There's 3 faces you can customize on her. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like there's no difference from this in the beta. It's all the same cosmetics. Nothing's changed. I want to see this completely added to, revamped something. I want to be able to change body type. I want to be able to do whatever I want to do. I want it like Red Dead Redemption 2 style, like a Rockstar game where you can actually really customize the tune. But that's my complaint, and there's no way, like, why can't we show off a little skin for the female druid? There's nothing that's a little revealing, you know, like, I know it's a little ridiculous, but, like, come on. You can go necro or go damn sorceress, and she's about naked.
Understand the argument. Now, I like making my character look like Jax from League of Legends. That's what I went with because I played a lot of League of Legends for like 10 years. I think it's fun. But a lot of these outfits,
it's just all this really, cloth.
Really cool. I think cosmetically,
like, you could have like a real chest piece with all that on top of it.
Which is that both these skins, as well as, and this is the part you're going to giggle at, okay?
Looks like cloth man.
Skins in the shop that you can purchase for God knows too much money, all right? These are completely worthless. Because of the reason that
hold on, let me back it up. He didn't even talk about the anchor on the back right here. We laughed about that when I was when I was having, I was probably level 50 and I was sucking real bad. And I was like, I'm about to go buy that anchor because I'm just dragging the whole group down. They know how bad the Druid is. They put a damn anchor that you can buy and put on your back in the cosmetic area.
Of the reason that every single person is going to have a chest plate, more or less, that makes them a true form, where you're either a werewolf or a werebear. There is some argument that absolute min-maxing, you're not going to use one of these chests.
I'm not using one.
You're going to have a chest plate that makes you either a werebear or a werewolf. Now,
so the reason I ain't using it is I feel like I'm slower in full werebear all the time. And that might just be an illusion, but I want the extra aspect because I need that because I'm not a very super awesome player. I mean, I'm a fine player, but I want security. I want to feel like I'm not missing anything. By the way, that if you're using +2 to fortify earth skill, when you have fortify, you gain 2 to earth skills. That ain't working. You'll see it if you're wearing it. You'll see it on your tooltip. You'll hover your mouse over there, and it'll say +0 to earth skills, even though you've got like 7,000 fortify. So that's useless right now. So that might be against the argument to use the chest piece. But you could take the aspect that every time you deal damage, you deal X percentage, or you gain X percentage of armor up into 50% armor. So, I mean, there's just different things you can take. I don't personally like to be the bear all the time. Also, if you don't take the bear form, then you can sync that passive into quick shift. And when you shape shift, you gain X amount percentage damage.
Now, why it is really cool, that I'm going to walk out here so you can see, while it is really cool that your hair color of your shapeshift changes based upon your character's hair color. For instance, I'm a ginger, so my bear would be a ginger. And you can
oh, really? I didn't realize that.
As well, okay. There you go. You can see. See, I'm a little bit ginger.
Oh, learn something new every day. Cool. God almighty.
The reality is you're never going to see your skin. So if you are a druid that spent $25 on a skin you're never going to see, well, that's a good giggle now, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Overall, though, I think the druid suffers.
Unless you're in town. That's the only time that if you've got that chest piece on and you go back to town, you will transform back into a human. I noticed that because I played with this chest piece he's wearing to try to get some speed bonuses from the passive. And I was fast, and then when I went to town, I was slow again because you go back to human form. That's the only time that you would ever see your skin.
Mostly from a mismatching of the demographic it is targeted to and the build style it is played to. It feels to me like a class that is mostly targeted towards people that are just relaxing, trying to fun them with the game, the more average casual audience, people that just like, I want to be a bear, I want to smash the ground, etc. Those seem
There's
to be
a lot of those guys.
Like me. That's exactly the reason I play. I just wanted to have some fun. I thought it looked like a fun class. I wasn't trying to min-max literally anything. I just thought it would be fun.
Oh, I am.
The problem is,
I'm dedicated to this class
that takes literally every legendary and then takes everything in order to do it, and then you don't get to see your cosmetics anyway. So the target demographic for this should actually be like the hardcore min-maxers, especially because it takes level to like 70 before it actually feels good, and the first bit is brutal. So I think you're seeing extra frustration because the people that shouldn't be playing the class are also the ones that play it pretty much the most.
I think honestly they could fix that issue with the frustration if one thing, give us passive spirit regen. I don't care if it's 0.001. Give us some touch of passive spirit regen, and then give us a base 10% movement speed increase, just like you gave the barbarian a 10% base damage reduction increase. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I played the hell out of Druid, and I got mad because this whole, like we're talking about, it's frustrating, and I went and made a sorceress, and a level 1 sorceress feels 30,000 million times faster, even on the horse, than a level 70, 80 druid. So if they could fix that class and the frustrations going on with those 2 minor adjustments, it would be perfect.
You can probably hear my garbage truck in the background. Apologies. So I have found that rather humorous, that it seems to like bait people in that want to play something kind of fun thematically, and then it's like, oh, by the way, this one's the hardest.
This is hard.
Yeah. So I do think there is something to be said about that. But overall, once you get the druid build, it feels really good. The class variety.
This one's hard. Yep.
I mean, the pulverized build is like a one-shot AOE build. The Storm Wolf Tornado build seems to be a lot more like
single target. Yeah.
On singular target type of stuff. The damage seems to be very good. I know there's a lot of memes.
So we are already seeing a lot of that, like Diablo 3 style, where you've got a maybe just with druid at least. It's the only class I've got experience with. But you are seeing one build's a trash killer, and one build's a kind of a elite single target boss killer. Because I'll tell you right now, when you get down, you're farming or you're doing whatever you're doing with pulverized, and you get to an elite, you got all the mobs down, you in trouble because you've got to have to waste all your spirit, and then you start to regenerate, and it starts really getting to be a pain in the ass.
The druid damage, but I don't know if you guys have seen some of my damage numbers, but
they're crazy.
I mean, it is very, very high single target damage. Okay, no problems.
Oh well, I hadn't seen that one, but the pulverize.
You're in the game. Just show them the damage. Let me go get this boss. Okay, here we go. Let's show a little bit of boss action.
I hadn't seen his storm.
Okay, well here we go. We'll ramp up the damage, and now go, and then you can kind of see an example of what I'm working with here. I mean, it's not bad. It gets a little bit higher.
No overpowers though. I don't know if I like Wolf.
You can get an example there anyway. So overall, I'm quite enjoying the Druid. I just think that a lot of people that start the Druid for reasons mentioned might not enjoy the Druid, and I think that's where a lot of the negative feedback's coming from. It's definitely more of an in-game class, and I think there's some feedback. I've since changed my opinion slightly. I thought.
Yeah, my whole party was trying to calm me down. They were like, Hawg, relax, man. It's you'll get there. It's in game. It's not meant to be early game. But if you were playing with a rogue, like as you were leveling, you were madder than a hornet's nest. I'm talking about, because they were melting everything in sight, and you couldn't do nothing. All I could do was like bring the damage reduction, shout to everybody, like I'm helping.
It needs to be slow in the beginning, so it's good at the late. But it honestly doesn't need to be slow in the beginning, because the reality is in the late, in order to ramp every class up, it takes a lot of work, and the way you can match how strong the late game is by how much work each class takes to get to the late game. So you don't really need the early game to suffer for it. So I give ground a little bit on that debate. In my personal opinion, the early game Druid is a little bit more frustrating than it needs to be. Granted, I think a lot of people are trying to do the shape-shifting stuff right from the beginning, which doesn't really work as well because you need the stuff. So I think if people were just using like Tornado to level or something like that, it would actually be less frustrating in the beginning, because the casting skills are better typically than the shape-shifting ones, at least till later. So I think a lot of people are starting, like pulverized build, like level 1, like I did, for instance, and getting frustrated. I will say this.
God, it was horrible.
Even though it is frustrating, I am glad I actually did start with my pulverized build level 1, because by the time I got to the level in which the pulverized build worked, I understood why it worked, and I understood what I needed to make it better.
God,
I realized by the time I got there,
very true.
Generation is an issue. Survivability is an issue. Like I started to realize, okay, I've been suffering here, here, and here. So
hey, I'm gonna agree 1,000 zillion million % right there. Yeah, you suffered a while, but you learned every bit of that damn tune, because you were nonstop looking for a way to overcome the issues you were having. So you were always in that spirit boons, or always in the Paragon, or always in the skill tree, or always looking at items. You were nonstop trying to figure out how to make all that work. And it's not just me or DM, it's everybody else that I've talked to that's playing Druid. They know their Druids real well now. If you've stuck with Druid till the end game, and now there's guys playing with like Boulder and Landslide and all this other kind of stuff, we're going to see some really cool Druid stuff coming out for the guys that have really grinded on this tune, because you got forced to learn it.
I was able to put the Lego pieces kind of together in order to build it, if that makes sense. Whereas if I hadn't done that from the beginning, my knowledge of that would just be less, but also my experience getting there was basically miserable. So my opinion on the Druid is it is very fun once you have everything. It's fairly frustrating until you get there.
Very frustrating.
And the feedback on Druid so far has been fair. That's just my personal feedback, however. The video
now they're going to nerf it.
For a couple of plugs. Again, I am on the live stream here, and we have been growing.
All right, yeah, that's DM. Go check him out on YouTube. Appreciate you letting me farm your channel. I really like some of his takes, so I hadn't done a reaction video in a while, so I wanted to do that on him. He is playing nothing but Druid. He was the only guy I finally broke down and went and looked at a build guide, and I went and just peeped at what he was doing for a few minutes, and every time I pulled up my phone, there he was, Druid, and I'm like, damn it, Darth, I don't want to see what you're doing yet. I want to figure it out myself. But I broke down, and he really helped me out. Go check his Druid stuff out. Give him a subscribe. He's got some good info. Seems like a good fella. I usually agree with what he's got to say. So anyway, appreciate y'all watching. Hit like and subscribe. Make sure to join my Discord, the House of Hawg. We ain't mild, we wild. If you're looking for a community to run with, there's really not many ways to get with a group and stuff in the game, so that will help you out. I got looking for group channels, and we're always running experience farms and all that. But make sure you come in, introduce yourself, and get to know some folks before you just jump in and say, hey, who's got leveling going on? Be a part of the community, and we'll be glad to help you out. And like I said, make sure to go give Darth a like and subscribe. Give me a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Hawg Gaming. We are still streaming. We're on the Sports Streamer program. You can get your mounts and all that good stuff there. So we'll see you over on Twitch. See you later.